The game of Ark is filled with tons of mystery, intrigue, adventure, and danger. There's things that are far more dangerous than others and things that are far more easier than others. What can you expect in a land of dinosaurs where at one time you'll be walking down the beach and then next thing you know, you're going to be set upon by a T-Rex charging you down? Well, that's what we're going to be discussing today because in order to progress through the world of Ark, you're going to need some of the best things that can actually team up with and take along with you along your journey. And we're going to be talking about the easiest ones to get, plus the hardest ones, which ones are the most essential, and why. So sit back, buckle up, and let's get down to the first one. The first one we're going to be talking about is probably the easiest one to tame. That's why it's the first one we're talking about, and that is the Ankylosaurus. Now, these guys right here, in the game of Ark, you are going to end up needing a ton of metal. Now, in order to get that metal, you can go out and you can get a pick, but why would you? If you wanted to go out and get a ton of it all at once, well, the easiest way to do that is with an Anky. Able to harvest hundreds, if not thousands of metal all in one sitting. These guys are absolutely essential for survival on Ark. They are so amazing and so good. Now, the reason why they're the easiest on the list is because, well, frankly, they are the easiest ones to tame. Easily found on the beaches and also over on Herbivore Island on the island. Also, you can find them in the lower bits of the hills on the mountains as well. And they are generally pretty easy to knock out. All it takes really is either a slingshot or a bow with trank arrows. And then to tame them, extremely easy. Just use a little bit of mejoberries, maybe a little bit of narcoberries. And then Bob's your uncle. One of these will be yours. And they're absolutely amazing for gathering your metal. You're going to need one of these guys. These guys are absolutely essential. All right, the next one we're going to be talking about can actually be a little bit deceptive with how easy or how difficult it could be, but it is the Moschops. These guys, essentially in the early game, they are far more valuable than they are in the late game. In the late game, they're generally reserved to just pumping out superior kibble, but in the early game, these guys are essential and amazingly good. They can gather up berries, fiber, and even harvest up dinosaur carcasses, so where you can get plenty of meat to help you out along your journey. Now, taming these guys is a little bit more difficult. It involves going up to it and seeing what it needs. This one right here needs cooked prime meat, and they can go through a whole list of what they need, and then you go up to it and you click it. Now, sometimes you'll have what it needs, other times you won't. If you don't have what it needs, just go find another one and then tame that one, because these guys will help you out tremendously. These guys are just so good at gathering anything that you possibly do need. It's amazing. The next dinosaur you're going to need is going to be the Doedicurus. These guys are the kings of rock gatherer. They are so amazing with just how much they're going to get for you. Now, you can find these guys in the hills and, yeah, in the mountainous regions, as well as sometimes in the jungles. Just keep an eye out for them there. But yeah, with the amount of building that is generally required for a lot of bases in this game, especially the endgame bosses, the amount of stone they can get, it is absolutely amazing, which makes them absolutely essential. And I said absolutely a lot there, but I absolutely mean it. Yeah, now taming these guys, it can be a little rough when you find them out in the wild. If they have a bunch of damage done to them, they're going to want to curl up. So the key thing is to actually take them and knock them out before they can ball up by putting enough torpor in them before you do enough damage to them. That's the trick. Once they ball up, forget about it, move on to another one, and just let this one kind of sit and wait until it's actually healed up. Hopefully it's there. If not, you can take it, you can pick it up with something that's a flyer, drop it into a pen, let it heal up, and then try again. That's about the best option you got. But when it comes around to knocking these guys out, as long as you knock it out properly before they ball, you could just feed these guys up with a little bit of mejoberries and some narcoberries, and they will be your best buddy forever, helping you build all the bases you ever wanted. The next most essential dino on this map to tame, that one that you're really absolutely going to need, is, of course, the mammoth. These guys are absolutely amazing, especially at gathering wood. Matter of fact, the only thing that even comes close to their ability to gather wood is the beaver. But with these guys, with their trumpeting roar that's able to reduce the amount of damage that other creatures in the area is able to deal, plus their ability to gather wood and their weight reduction on wood, these guys are simply amazing, which makes them absolutely essential. The beaver is really good as well, but they also don't have the buffs that the mammoth can do. Also, they can extinguish fires with their being able to hold water in their trunk, and then also provide you with a nice little drink if you can hold on to it for that long. But these guys are so good, which is why they are absolutely essential. Now, the taming requirements for these guys, what makes them so difficult to tame is not just how to tame them, which is simply just mejoberries or kibble if you have it, with a little bit of narco berries. It's the area these guys spawn in. They generally spawn in the northern biomes where all the snow is and also all the bad things are. Not only do you get gigas, Uties, Carnotauruses, Deodons, Sabertooths, Direwolves, anything you can think of will spawn in here. It is extremely dangerous, and yeah, just be prepared to protect your tame while you're trying to tame one of these guys. It can be a little bit tricky, but once you get the hang of it, it will be, I mean, it'll pay off for you in the long run. So yeah, but a mammoth, absolutely essential. These guys are amazing. The next most essential creature to tame in all of Ark is, of course, it's the Mighty King, the T-Rex. These guys are absolutely amazing. Not just for its size and sheer power, these guys, they pack one heck of a wallop. But also, if you have any aspirations to go do the boss fights or anything of the sort, these guys are absolutely essential to get that job done. For breeding and all sorts of adventures around the island, T-Rex is without a doubt one of the most essential dinosaurs in all of Ark, especially since they're just so versatile in what they can do. They are one of the best carnivores you can get, minus the, besides the Giga, but they will be able to fit inside all of the boss arenas as well, which is why the Giga is not on the list and the Rex is. Now, for taming these guys, well, they're a simple knockout tame, but with the amount of damage they deal, it is far easier to use other dinosaurs, ones that you eventually get in your adventures, to use to tame them. Taming one of these guys on foot is possible. It is highly unrecommended, but it is possible, and I would recommend using the strongest things you have in order to knock them out and knock them out fast. Now, when taming these guys, I would recommend riding another dino that can take the hits very well. Like right now, I'm riding a Thylacoleo, and that is actually my preferred way of taming these guys. But it is not required in any means. But I find it the easiest. You can also trap these guys as well, which does make it pretty simple. But getting into the trap, that's the hard part. But once they're in there, they generally go down pretty easily. Use kibble on these guys or regular raw prime meat. You can use meat, but I would not recommend it. The next most essential dino, which is a little bit harder to tame than a Rex. Yes, I said it's a little bit harder than a Rex. Hear me out. But yeah, the next one is, of course, going to be the Baryonyx. These guys are absolutely essential. Not only are they amazing first water tames, able to get you into taming up a bunch of stuff inside the ocean, these guys are without a doubt the best caving mount in the entire game. If you have aspirations to get inside of the caves, the Baryonyx is how you do it. These guys are so great and so good. They are absolutely essential for knocking out just every single cave that you can, minus a couple of the little harder ones or the ones where no dinosaur can even fit inside of. I would not take these guys into the underwater caves or the Cave of the Strong, i.e. the Snow Cave, and they just can't fit into the Cave of the Skylord. But all the other caves where a Baryonyx can fit, a Baryonyx is the best. Hands down, these guys are so good. Ah, man, they are amazing. I have done entire videos on exactly just how good these guys are, putting them through their paces, doing all the for science stuff, figuring out exactly what makes them tick and just how good they are. Just make sure wherever you take these guys, you have fish meat in their inventory, because that is all they will eat. But when you have one of these in your menagerie, they will help you out so good, especially if you get a mating pair of these guys and then you breed them, and then they get even better. Now, I would put these guys at their difficulty to tame at generally above a Rex, because of where they spawn and what their special abilities are. They generally prefer to spawn in places like the swamp or in rivers, and if you are unfortunate enough to encounter one of them while they're in deep enough water to actually swim, they have a spin attack that will stun you and then allow them plenty of time to just gnaw on you at their leisure. So don't go into the deep water with these guys. Also, when it comes around to the swamps are extremely dangerous in Ark Survival Evolved or Ark Survival Ascended. So take a lot of care while you're in the swamps looking for these guys. But if you are lucky enough to find one of these guys that is a good enough level out in the rivers, I would recommend that you tag it, pull it onto dry land, and knock it out there. Do not, I repeat, do not follow these guys into the deep water, because that is what they want, and they are very tricky about it. You will get stunned, you will get dead, and you will be returning to your corpse very, very quickly. So just be very careful when looking for these guys or for when knocking these guys out, but once you do, they are so good and absolutely essential. The next most essential dinosaur on this list, from easiest to hardest, is of course the Basilosaurus. These guys are so good. They are absolutely essential if you're looking to get into the caves that, well, the underwater caves that the Baryonyx was not able to. These guys will actually be able to get you into there, and they will be able to do it in style. At one point in time, you used to be able to charge in on a Basilosaurus. Now you're not able to. Now, because of some other fish that have been added to the map, you have to go in bit by bit, slowly clearing it out. But there is no better dino to do it than the Basilosaurus, because these guys right here, you cannot get knocked off their saddle. These guys are just absolutely essential, but they do have a very high health pool, but just make sure you are watching your health when it comes to the dot that some of the new fish actually do, which is why I say go in bit by bit, piece by piece, make sure you clear out a path, and then go that way. But yeah, Basilosauruses, these guys are so good. They also passively provide you with an oil generation, so where you can essentially get unlimited oil by getting these guys, taming them, and then adding them to your aquatic dinos that you have on the map. It's absolutely amazing. Now, with these guys, what you have to do to tame them is you have to passive tame them. I would recommend using kibble. It's easiest, it's fastest. Grab some kibble, go underwater, grab a Baryonyx from the one earlier, go in here, make sure you passive tame. Make sure you clear out all of the mantas that are generally following these guys first. And then once you do, you can follow it around with your Baryonyx and then passive tame it by using your kibble on it. Once you have one of these guys, they're absolutely amazing and absolutely essential. And probably the most essential dino out of the entire video, this one right here, is of course the Argentavis. It slices, it dices, it juliennes. Even if you could put a pot in its inventory, I'm sure this thing would saute your dinner for you. These guys are so amazing. Not only do they have weight reduction on just about anything you put in their inventory, their saddle is also a pocket smithy. These guys are so good. You can breed them for just about any purpose you wanted to. You could breed them to go get your metal from your Anki. You could breed them to go carry your stone by putting weight on them. You can breed them for excess stamina, so you can fly from one end of the arc to the other without even ever needing to land. You can also breed these guys for extremely high damage, so where you can go out and use them as a battle argent. These guys are some of the best tames. Matter of fact, I would say they are the best tame that you can get in Ark. Matter of fact, they are so good, many Ark survivors, myself included, consider your first Argent tame a rite of passage for every playthrough. Once you get that done, the game absolutely changes in ways that you didn't even know that it could because of the things that the Argent unlocks just by having one in your menagerie. They are so good and so effective and so efficient. The absolute most essential dinosaur that you're going to tame in the entire game is, of course, an Argentavis. Make sure you get one. They are amazing, but they are not the hardest one to tame, which is why they are in the middle of this video, because there are harder ones to tame, but once you actually figure out the easier ways to tame them, it is rather easy. There are quite a few different traps that you can use. I am only going to cover one of them, but let's get to it. Now, you can actually tame these guys in the open world without using a taming pen, and I would actually encourage people to at least once do that because it is so good. But yeah, it takes a really good shot to be able to do that. If you're not ready for doing that, or you're just not up for the challenge, that's okay. No one's gonna hold it against you. You can craft something like this, which is just some gates, and you go through, you make sure you leave a couple of them so where there's a decent size where you can go through the outside, and then you once the Argent is in here from follow you inside, you go around and you lock it in, and from here you can actually go and shoot it however you want and then knock it out. It will be contained on the inside away from predators, and also you can put whatever you want onto it to tame it. I would recommend using either kibble or prime meat. You could also use mutton as well, which is also really good. But yeah, so once you have an Argent, trust me, your gameplay, if this is your first time ever getting an Argent in the game, trust me, an Argent will make your gameplay so much easier than you thought it could possibly be from up until that point. It's amazing going forward. It changes the way the entire game is played once you have a really good Argent. Enjoy. All right, the next most essential yet harder to tame creature in this this video is, of course, the Dinosaurs. These guys, while they are slightly harder to tame than an Argent, these guys can be quite challenging if you're not prepared for it. But also, what makes them essential is the fact that they can gather just about anything. They can gather fiber from the bushes, they can gather berries from the bushes themselves, they can gather wood, they can gather just about anything. Plus also, they can skin things with their really long claws. Very, very effective. Also, if you have any aspirations towards the boss fights, these guys are also a ticket in. Much like the Rex, the Therizinosaur, they were built for fighting bosses. Combine these guys with some sweet veggie cakes and put them head to head against the dragon boss fight, and then even the Overseer. They will come out ahead. Trust me, they are absolutely amazing. When you find them out in the wild, you can encase them inside of a bunch of dino gates and then jump up on top of it if you have a Thyla and then knock them out that way. I would recommend that you use kibble with them because it is important. So use kibble or measure berries if you absolutely need to. Yeah, but I would use kibble. And what list of essential dinosaurs or essential tames in Ark Survival would be complete without the Thylacoleo? These guys are their own mobile taming pin. They are so good. They're the cuddliest, cutest things that you could ever get, especially when you're imprinting them. So make sure you go out and you cuddle your local Thylacoleo. Not really. Yeah, that's going to end poorly. But, you know, it's great in theory. So, hey, yeah, let's talk about them. Not only is the Thylacoleo a simple beast of a tame, but to ride these guys, they are so good. And also, what I have used to tame most of the things on this list, when you have a Thylacoleo, for the most part, you don't even need a taming pen anymore because they can take the hits and you can also fire off the back of them. But they are just so good. You can find a nice spot where you can shoot down and at whatever it is you're taming, and then you can knock it out extremely easy. I mean, a Thylacoleo, these guys, they are one of your best buddies. If it's not the Argent taking you from point A to point B and then doing it in style, it is the Thylacoleo allowing you to do everything else in the game in style. Thylacoleos are absolutely essential for gameplay, especially in the mid game, going into the late game, and even after the late game when you're going around, you're getting all the rest of the stuff that you need, Thylacoleos will help you out tremendously. These guys are so good. Now, they're located in the redwoods, and I would recommend going and taking a parasaur that you have over by the redwoods, picking it up with an Argent, of course, because Argents are amazing, and then you take the parasaur with its alert sense on into the redwoods rather high up, where you can go and you can locate it in there. Once you locate your Thyla, you remember where the tree is, and then you go back with just the Argent. If you hover above it or you come down at it from an angle, it won't be able to jump on you. Be careful though, because they have made a few changes where the Thylas can kind of jump up a little bit, so be very, very careful when coming at it with an Argent, or just shoot it, knock it down off the tree, pick it up with the Argent, and then carry it away. Once you have it carried up in your claws, you take it at a 45-degree angle over to a taming pen where you can drop it inside the taming pen and then knock it out at your leisure. Make sure that you use kibble when taming these guys, because their torpor goes down quite fast. Make sure you bring lots of narcotics, but if you don't have access to kibble, you can use some cooked mutton. It works really well, not as good as kibble, but it does work very, very well. And just remember, Thylacoleos, oh man, these guys, while they can't go into bosses, they can do everything else, and they can do it really well. All right, now if you're looking to get into the end game, the hardest but one of the most essential tames that you can get in the entire game. Yeah, I'm standing right next to it. Don't see it? Yeah. It's the honeybee or the queen bee. These guys, if you're going to be doing any kind of top-end kibble, you need one of these guys. If you're going to be doing any boss fights with the fairy or any kind of herbivore, you need these guys so you can make the veggie cakes. Honey is absolutely essential in the game, especially in the late game. So when it comes around to the most essential yet hardest to tame thing in the game, well, yeah, it's not the most essential. I would give that one to the Argent, but I would also say the queen bee is the hardest of the pack to actually tame. Now, you get these guys by building, well, if you find them in the redwoods, I would recommend building a structure up to get it, and once it actually, once you break the nest and let it come down, then you need to follow it with some rare flowers and gilly and preferably bug repellent equipped on you, and then you go up to it very, very quickly, and then you give it a rare flower. It's a lot harder than it sounds, especially the first time you do it. It is... I have heard many, many horror stories and experienced quite a few of them myself while getting it down to actually a science of how to tame them properly. A lot of people, they'll follow them. They'll be like, oh, hey, let's get them that way. Don't. Run up, give them the rare flower, get out. As quick as possible. It's the easiest way. But mastering that, very difficult. But it is extremely essential. So, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it helps you out in your Ark adventures. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button down below. I really appreciate that. If you're new around here, subscribe. I really appreciate that as well, too. And until next time, this is Phlinger. Take it easy, everybody.